are so many artists out there who don't know how to make a career out of art. That market is very big, and that market
Mhm.
needs to be catered to in some or the other way. So the problem statement that if you're a JJ School of Arts pass out, people will still ask you what do you do for bread and butter. But if you're a Royal College of London pass out, people won't ask you the same question necessarily. And this disparity is not because of the amount of opportunities present in the respective places. It is just because of the accessibility to opportunities.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Say Something with Mads. This channel is for youth, and every week we have a youth from across the globe coming on this channel and sharing about them, about their passion, about their entrepreneurship journey, about anything and everything which impacts them. This is an open space, and everybody has a free will to talk about their issues the way they want it. Today we have Suhani Dhahdphale. She is joining me from Pune. Let's welcome Suhani. Hello, how are you doing, Suhani?
Hello, hi, I'm doing fantastic.
I have been following Suhani for a very long time, and she is finally here today. We will, of course, look at her journey, look at what she's doing. But I would like Suhani to start by describing yourself in 5 words. How would you describe yourself in 5 words? And also let us know about the meaning of your name, Suhani.
Okay, Suhani means the one who gives happiness. That is
Okay.
what the meaning is. And to describe me in 5 words, my God, okay. Creative, passionate, lovable, honest, and raw. I think
Raw. Okay,
those would
okay.
be the 5 words.
Yes, lovely. And if you have noticed, viewers, she started with the word creative. So that's her core, I think. So this is why she's here today to talk about her journey. But let's ask Suhani about her life, her school life, how she was as a student, and take it from there about her family, about where she is from, and what is she doing right now. Over to you, Suhani.
Okay, so I have had actually a pretty good school life, uh, a bit different from what every single child has because at a very early age I started acting. So I did my first short film when I was in my first grade, then my first feature film in my second grade, the second feature film in my third grade, and then again one in my fifth grade. While I was doing all of this, I was doing quite a lot of theater. So I've always been that active theater kid who used to love performing and acting and doing multiple things parallelly. But those typical kids in school who are academically doing great and have a perfect extracurricular activity balance. I was unfortunately or fortunately one of them. So I could from since then I was very fond of multitasking, I believe. But it was a very bittersweet experience doing all of this because the films gave me a lot of attention from teachers, not much good experiences from students because there was a lot of jealousy surrounding around with
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I wouldn't say my school life was the best when it comes to friendships. Obviously, I have some brilliant friends from school who are still there, but jealousy was a very big aspect of my school life. So I have bitter as well as sweet memories. My teachers, I have found some incredible teachers on the way while my schooling happened. So that was definitely a plus one. And I think. As I told, I was someone who used to multitask a lot, and I was doing so many things parallelly. I used to act, I used to do theater, I used to play badminton, I used to do kathak, along with academics. So yeah, that was pretty much my school life, which was extremely hectic and busy. And throughout my school, while I was maintaining multiple passions, a bigger part of them was art, but I always wanted to do neuroscience because that fascinated me a lot. That how the human mind works, how can the people so be creative, where do thoughts come from, where do ideas come from. So after my ninth, I was pretty sure that I want to do this, and I scored very well in 10th. I got a 95. So the obvious choice was taking up science, and I did. I took up science. But then to do something about my artistic side, I started Sangam as a social media page out of complete boredom. I mean, there was no substantial motive to it, that I want to do or build something out of this. It was just like I was new to Instagram, new to social media, and I was fascinated by how the concept of you can like, share, comment, and that was very fascinating for me because mobile phone was something I got pretty like after 10th. So so yeah, so then that's how Sangam started, just as a social media page. But like 3 months into it, I started loving it. I mean, uh, bringing together people, creating a calendar for content, continuously producing something, talking to a team, building something of your own, and which really made me think whether I want to give up on this to do something entirely different. And that entirely different, is it something I can also do while doing this? So after like exploring multiple careers, right from neuroscience to MBBS to going for a CA class because my father wanted me to become a CA, to finally doing economics, it has been one hell of a journey. There was a running joke in a patch of my life that I've tried so many career options that I think career counseling is the best choice for me, because I can now give insight on every single field, the amount of classes I've attended for. Uh,
Lovely to hear that. Okay, Suhani, we will talk about Sangam a little later because
yes,
that's something which we will explore a little in detail. But what I would like
absolutely.
to ask you at this point is, um, who in your family had these genes that you started acting from such a young age, or what made you like at that one grade one student or grade two student will not know, like you were always natural on stage. Who pushed you, who motivated you to go ahead, and do you remember go back along that time when you started first?
So I don't think it was out of me being fond for acting. It was much out of, again, the entire acting journey is also by fluke because we did nothing on purpose there.
Yeah.
So I used to go to this drama class, which was a weekend thing, wherein
Okay.
the parents generally put kids so that
Yeah.
there is peripheral development. So I was the kid, and my mother is a very enthusiastic parent. Even my father is, but my mother used to like take me everywhere and be very proactive with all my extracurriculars. So that way I was enrolled in a drama class, and there a film and television institute student saw me play, and that's when they were like, we want to meet this kid, and that's how they met with me, and then they auditioned me, and it was a film and television institute student project, the short film.
Okay, got
That
it.
was what that is where I did my first short film. And then so Chintu is the feature film I have acted in. I don't think you know about it, but it was a very famous comic strip in the newspaper
Yeah.
Sakar, on which two
Yes,
movies
yes.
were made.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
female protagonist, the character of Minnie, is what I played. So that happened. So there was Christmas party at my school, which is Abhinav Vidyalaya, and there's a school directly opposite to Abhinav Vidyalaya, which is KHS, Kalmadi Shamrao High School. There were Chintu auditions going there, and there were like
Okay.
around 5,000, 6,000 kids coming in and auditioning. And
Okay.
our Christmas party just got over, and there was a big banner that there's this audition going on. So parents were like, "Do you want to go? We can go. Just like check it out, and we just see." Then I went. I had this part from the short film already ready in my mind, so I could perform something. Then I went, and then I performed. And I remember saying, I mean, I was so small that I, so the director of the film who was auditioning, his surname and my mother's pre marital
Marriage.
surname is the same. I randomly went and told that person that, my mother's also surname was this only when she was not married. And that stayed with the director. That, this girl came up to me and said this. And that's when he shortlisted me. I mean, the entire drama bit was also
Uh,
the audition bit was also important, but this stayed with him. And then there were multiple auditions. There were around 8 9 rounds because there were so many kids, 6,000
mm.
7,000 kids. And uh, and then there was one round, another round, and there were costume tests, there were screen tests, and I was just going as they were calling. My mother used to take me. I used to go. I was not even aware of the fact that the movie is something which is so big, or I had not seen any single movie till then. So so that happened, and then one day they just called my mother and told that your daughter has been selected for the role of Minnie. And for me, it was not a big deal at all because I did not even know the concept of movies or what acting in a movie is, in my second grade. And then the shoot happened. One big thing, which is a very funny incident, that I had a very long hair in my first grade. So in my short film, there are two plates I tie, and my hair was my USP. So in my first grade, I won this long and healthy hair competition, and hair was something which is very close to my heart. And for the role of Minnie, they asked me to cut my hair. And I was like,
Okay.
I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this if my hair is being cut. And that time on the shoot, first day of the shoot, my mother was not there because her mom passed away. So she was
Okay.
not there. And they just took my two ponytails and cut them from here. And I remember crying so much that I don't know what to do this. So a
Oh
lot
my
of
God.
so a
Uh,
lot of the initial period of Chintu was just me not wanting to do it at all. Then I made a lot of friends because it's a kids movie, so all of us became really good friends. I enjoyed the shooting time a lot. I missed a lot of months in school, but then eventually, like, I coped up and I used to study in the night, at night, and then yeah, so that's
oh, that
how.
what a beautiful journey. I mean, from that age, you have started managing things. So that's how you have been. You have
Yeah, I
been
think I was
managing.
better at time management back then than today, because my mother who played a very important role. So I would really like to learn from the second standard, third standard Suhani as to how she was missing
Managing
school
everything.
for 2 months and still like acing it and getting academic awards. That is
Yeah.
something I would really like to learn from her.
And you mentioned so sweetly that incident about your hair. You still have very long hair,
No, no, no.
which
This
looks
is
really.
this is very short. So
Actually, you had
I have
really long hair.
really long hair.
Okay, you have been talking about your mom's influence on you a lot since we started talking. So tell me, over the years, over the teen years, and now, so you are now 19. So how do you look back upon changing relationships with your parents, especially with your mom over the years? So people
I
usually have very cliche, my mom is my best friend. But there are times when you feel something changing, the dynamics of the relationship changes. Does that happen to you, or I would like to hear it from a 19-year-old?
Yeah, so I don't think I would put it in my mom is my best friend wala box, because I think my relationship with my mother has been ever changing, and I
Yeah.
think friend is a very small term to define my relationship with her, because I think I would call her my biggest supporter and my biggest catalyst, because um, the way in which she supports me and protects me is very fierce, and her fierce side comes out only when it comes to me. So I would call her my biggest supporter and protector. And obviously it has been an ever changing relationship, because of her and baba's proactiveness and the want to kind of expose me to a lot of different things very unknowingly, because for them also it was by fluke only. They never planned that we want our daughter to act in movies or do theater. It was very much unplanned, but they were open to the idea of making me
Mm,
kind
right,
of explore
right.
different things. So that openness has always helped, while there is obviously rigidity because there is a protective feeling towards your daughter. So now if I say that I want to leave everything and do theater, obviously they will be rigid and they would give a big no. But
Mm,
so, right from she being there on sets with me 24 by 7 to now she not seeing me for days, I think our relationship has changed a lot, because uh, yeah, I think that is the best way to define it, because
I know.
uh,
I think the trust with which the faith she has in you has allowed her to have this space between you. That is how the upbringing shows. When you are alone, how you are behaving. That must have rubbed onto her that she can take care of herself. So that's how this days when
I
you
think
don't
she
see.
knows that I can take care of myself, take care of myself. But there's a very big protective side to my mama as well as my dad, which rarely makes them leave me alone. So this is the first time I'm alone in my house. First
Oh,
time in
really? Okay,
all of
okay,
these
okay.
19 years. So
All right.
yeah, so they're extremely protective about me, and they're obviously that protection is coming out of care. That protection is also not acted in really good ways when I've made some unconventional choices, like running a startup. That is the reason that entire career turmoil, that they wanted me to do something which would give me a more secure life. I wanted to do something which was not very security driven, but eventually I think over the past 3 years my relationship with them have has changed a lot. So when I started out Sangam, even they looked at it as something that she's doing something like that is never going to be her main thing, or something extracurricular is good. So that is the perspective they looked at entire Sangam journey, mostly Baba. Um, and to now actually wanting to kind of fund an entire Sangam offsite for the team, because you guys are working a lot, you should go and chill for a day. Coming from my father, I think that defines the journey a lot. So my mother has also been the person who has been absolutely hospitable to all the Sangam people coming in and serving them vada pavs and this and that, to now people coming in for an interview and she asking them to wait just because other interviews are going on, and trying to maintain that professional environment in a workspace. So that has been a change. Their perspective of looking towards what I really want to do has changed a lot. So
Wow.
3 years
This is
ago,
beautiful.
they were looking at somewhere about my security and stability from their lens, that if you do this you'll be secure, if you do this you'll be
Yes.
stable. But now they realize that they kind of they've seen the passion with me, which has always grown
Yes.
exponentially, and
Mm,
they now know that even if Sangam fails, this girl will at least do something of her own, which will kind of protect her. So obviously,
mm,
there's a very rigid perspective time and again, which comes in there. You have to focus on academics, you have to focus on your career, but there is so much unsaid support which they give. I mean, may it be just
right.
kind of putting us off on trips wherein they know that we need the kind of break we want, to being so warm with my team, to kind of helping me entirely with the office space which we are building. So this is something which I wouldn't have expected 3 years ago, which is, I think we've come a long way with our relationship.
Right.
And 3 years ago, everything I used to discuss with them about my venture was something which was looked at from a very parenthood and uh, mm, a very warm point of view, that good you're doing this. Now they actually look at it from a very business perspective, that this should be done, this shouldn't be done. So my father is also
Right.
the CEO of the company, so that is
Okay.
one big thing altogether, a topic of discussion. But yeah, so
Right.
their perspectives have changed a lot, and the evolution in our relation is something I think I will
Beautiful.
cherish the
Yeah.
most, because not many people have this, that
Correct.
and
Correct.
especially my parents are much older to me. I mean, I'm the second child and there's a 12-year difference between me and my sister. So generally at their age they should have a daughter who has another daughter or son of her own. That's the Indian family system. But having a teenager who is rebellious and doing something which is unconventional and still being okay
Speaks
with
a
it,
lot.
and
Mm.
kind of adjusting to her whims and fancies, is something which is very creditable on their part. I
I
think, and
know.
I'm
That's a
absolutely
lovely
grateful
way.
for that.
I mean, it's a story in itself. I had asked you from a teenage point of view, but there are so many dynamics, so many layers of relationship you opened through this question. It was fascinating to see the journey, and especially when you said that they are late parenting, like they are late at that to come once again after this to have a teenage. all the hormones going haywire and all the age for the teenage tantrums, etc., and then come out and support your venture. So beautiful. So kudos to them. And I hope you make them proud as you are doing right now. So now coming to the main idea of Sangam. So you said 2050, I was bored and I started something on Insta. It was interesting. So what was the seed and how did it begin and where is it right now? Right now you have, I think you said 12 full-time employees and working for
Full,
you.
I mean, the entire working structure is part time. It's 3 hours per day. So 12 people working 3 hours per day on.
Let's begin from the beginning. So, what it
Yes,
is, and did you get recognized for what you were doing by the Ashoka change makers? How did that happen? That would be the second part. Let's start with the first part and how did it begin? And right from the scratch, you share the story.
absolutely. So as I told that after 10th, our last board paper got cancelled, which was geography, and um, we were kept hanging. I mean, would the paper happen? Would the paper not happen? And I was promised by my parents that I would get a phone after my 10th. So I got one because, we need the mobile phone for various purposes after our 10th. So then I got one and then I downloaded Instagram and then I had my account, and I was so fascinated by that world that you can do all of these. I was unaware. I mean, I did not use any social media till my 10th grade, like any child should. But yeah, so I was very fascinated by how it works, and that's the reason I wanted to explore it even more. So then I joined some live sessions. I used to write and post it on Instagram, and that's when this idea that you know what I am doing, a lot of people should come together and do. And a lot of people should come together and put art and create art. And if I write, there should be a person who can develop visuals for it. If someone paints, there can be a person who can write on it. If someone photographs, there can be a series of visuals which can be made out of it. So having a platform for all of these artists and creators, and I was predominantly very heavy on poems and open mics back then because I used to write a lot. Now the writing is reduced, but anyway, so I used to write a lot. So that was the idea, and I remember just sitting one night and typing on 23rd March 2020 and writing this huge message of how emotions should be the driving factor of this platform, and Sangam is basically a confluence of words, faces, emotions, and all of these big terms, which I thought would make it fancier. So yeah, that is how I had sent a message. Until then, I had started doing this on my level. That I used to try to take the phone, shoot some things, create different literature pieces, and then join the videos to make a compiled video of my poem and then visuals with it. And it was on a very amateur level. I mean, extremely amateur level. And I got real joy out of doing this and working with people and exploring ideas and kind of running something, the feeling of actually bringing together people to work towards a final goal, which is the page's goal, not an individual goal, was something which was very fascinating for me. So that was how it started actually. And then, like after a month, there was a team, and then we used to have meetings about what is to be posted. And now that I look at it, it seems very childish, but that was actually the building block. And 3 to 4 months into it, we wanted to make it a bit bigger. We wanted to make something out of it. So there was this concept in my mind that we should, all of these artists are coming together. So people in art who have actually made something out of their art should be invited, and they should be speaking to all of these different young artists. So that was the concept with which we did our first online event, which was the Digital Art Festival, wherein we had different artists who are pretty established. From you might be knowing Bhadipa, Bharatiya Digital Party, Sarang Sathe,
Okay.
and there was Gandhar Sangoram, then there was Rishi Jalan, and we had different people as speakers who came in and spoke, and we had around 80 paid registrations for that online event. And
Wow. Oh,
and that
okay.
was the first time we actually earned money out of this. And while the aim was never to earn money, we could fund a lot of things after the festival, because we could give hampers to the speakers, we could buy ourselves a Zoom premium subscription, because that was the main mode of meeting after that. And that made us realize that, you know what, that was the first trigger, so that there can be something more which can be made out of this, instead of running this just as an organization. And then I had written something which was like this big piece, English piece. And I was like, let's make a short film out of this. And we, on an extremely amateur level, in 4,000 rupees, made a short film out of it. And that
Okay.
short film, we needed to create something for the short film to be screened. So then we created our first offline event, which the first time lockdown opened, we did an offline event called Bandha, wherein we invited a lot of poets and different artists and curated this entire poetry performance, and then screened the short film, which had around 120 people come in. So after these first two events, we were like, very happy and fascinated. And now we were looking at Sangam as something more, and not just a platform or a social media page. So that's when the idea of doing something more triggered. And till then, I was a part of, so I got selected for this Harvard Youth Lead the Change program, which happened in June 2020, which gave me a different perspective on leadership and entrepreneurship altogether, which made me realize that there needs to be a problem statement, there needs to be a solution which works on the problem statement. And it basically gave me a bit of
Yeah,
entrepreneurial perspective.
entrepreneurship. Yeah. Hmm.
And I also did an internship at a social media marketing company, which made me realize how these smaller agencies or companies work actually. So although I was very young at that time, it gave me a lot of different perspectives to think on. So then the idea of the digital art festival, that there are so many artists out there who don't know how to make a career out of art. That market is very big, and that market needs
Mhm.
to be catered to in some or the other way. So the problem statement that, if you're a JJ School of Arts pass out, people will still ask you what do you do for bread and butter. But if you're a Royal College of London pass out, people won't ask you the same question necessarily. And this disparity is not because of the amount of opportunities present in the respective places. It is just because of the accessibility to opportunities. So the entire concept of monetizing art and becoming that platform which is accessible to artists and a one-stop shop for artists came, like, evolved out
Uh,
of the entire process. So yeah, so this has been, and then Sangam has been working towards the goal primarily through events, although that is not our main motive. But events is the closest way to reach the market and also build a name in the market, is what we thought. So we have been doing a lot of flea markets, a lot of workshops, a lot of open mics, which have had a footfall of around 5,000, 6,000 people. We have housed around 90 to 100 small businesses. So that has been the journey so far, and now we are in the stage of expanding ourselves. That is the reason, the team and the working hours. And the goal of Sangam is to monetize art. So events is definitely not the only way to go about it. So we are building some other things. We are going into art tech. We are going into partnerships. So that is something which is still work in progress. So
so,
that is.
so how